Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're jumping right into the 2025 Chevrolet Equinox. It's just been reviewed and, well, lots of buzz.
That's right.
So forget wading through all the reviews yourself. We've done that. If you're curious about this updated SUV, its highs, its lows, basically the essential stuff, you're definitely in the right place.
Exactly. We've gathered a good range of professional takes on it, so we should have a pretty balanced perspective on what this new Equinox offers and maybe where it misses the mark a bit.
Okay.
Our goal here is really just to give you the core info, clear, concise, no fluff.
Perfect. So what are the main areas we're hitting today? What's the plan?
Right. So we'll cover the look of it, the new design, outside and in, then the tech, the screens and connectivity everyone asks about,
Naturally.
how it actually drives, the performance, comfort levels too, passengers and cargo, and importantly, how it kind of stacks up against the competition value-wise.
Sounds good. Let's start with that visual aspect then. First impressions, they count, right? What are people saying about the 2025 Equinox's new style?
Well, the consistent feedback is it's got this more truck-inspired feel to it now. It's also wider by about 2.5 inches.
Oh, okay. Wider.
Yeah, and that wider stance, it doesn't just change how it looks, it apparently gives it a more planted feel on the road too.
Trek inspired. So maybe a bit more squared off, less curvy.
Something like that, yeah. More presence, perhaps.
And I saw there are different trims, LT, RS, ACT, IV. Are those just packages or do they actually, look distinct?
Oh, they definitely look distinct. Chevy's given each one its own front fascia.
Uh-huh.
The grille, headlights, the whole front design is different.
Oh, okay.
Plus, different wheels. The RS can get up to 20-inch wheels, which is pretty substantial for this size of SUV.
Right.
It really seems like they're trying to offer different personalities, different visual appeals within the one model.
Got it. So you can kind of pick the flavor you prefer. Makes sense. Okay, moving inside. Tech. Always a big one. What's new there? Screens, connectivity.
Absolutely. So center stage is an 11.3-inch touchscreen for the infotainment. That's a pretty good size, should be easy to use. And then the driver gets their own screen too, an 11-inch digital display.
Yeah.
Customizable, so you can choose what info you want right in front of you.
And are they easy to use? Clear.
The general feeling seems to be, yes, they're clear, pretty straightforward to navigate. Makes getting to your information, less distracting.
That sounds like a solid upgrade. How about connecting your phone and stuff?
Yeah, they've done well here. Wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto are standard. That's huge. No more fiddling with cables.
Definitely a plus.
But what's maybe even more interesting is the built-in Google stuff. Google Maps, Google Assistant for music.
Huh.
You can run it all directly from the car itself. Don't even need your phone connected for that basic navigation and streaming.
Very integrated then.
Exactly.
Okay, super important for families and, well, everyone really. Safety tech. What's included?
Good news there. Chevy's included their Chevy Safety Assist package as standard on all trims.
Standard. Okay, what does that include?
You get things like automatic emergency braking, which can, help avoid or reduce the severity of a crash. Forward collision alert, pedestrian detection too.
Essential stuff these days.
Totally. And it also has blind spot monitoring, super useful on highways, and lane keeping assist to help nudge you back if you drift. It's a good baseline of active safety features to have standard.
Definitely reassuring. Okay, let's shift gears. Literally, let's actually powering the 2025 Equinox, the engine.
Right. Under the hood, it's a 1.5-liter turbocharged four-cylinder. Puts out 175 horsepower.
175 horse. Okay, and torque, that initial push.
Yeah, the torque figure, it actually changes slightly. Depends if you get front-wheel drive or all-wheel drive. The front-wheel drive models get 184 pound-feet. The all-wheel drive versions get a bit more, up to 203 pound-feet. So slightly more pulling power with AWD.
Gotcha. Horsepower for maintaining speed, torque for that get-up-and-go feel.
Exactly.
And how does that power reach the wheels? Different transmissions?
Yes. Also depends on the drive type. The front-wheel drive uses a CVT, a continuously variable transmission.
Okay, a CVT.
But the all-wheel drive models, they get a more traditional 8-speed automatic transmission.
Ah, interesting split. Any reason why? Or benefits?
Well, that 8-speed automatic is generally seen as better for things like towing. Can also feel a bit more direct, maybe more responsive when you accelerate hard compared to some CVTs.
Right. And I think I saw something about drive modes. Normal, snow.
Yeah, the front-wheel drive has normal and snow modes. They basically adjust how the engine responds and how the traction control works for those conditions.
Makes sense.
And if you get the all-wheel drive, you also get an off-road mode added to the mix. Helps optimize grip on loose surfaces, that kind of thing.
So tries to adapt a bit, but
Yeah.
how does it feel to drive? That 1.5-liter engine, is it enough? What's the feedback?
Well, this is definitely a key point that comes up in the reviews. A fairly common comment is that the engine can feel, well, a bit underpowered, especially when you compare it to some rivals that might offer bigger engines or hybrid options with more instant torque.
Okay. So maybe slow off the line or when overtaking.
Could feel that way, yeah. Particularly noticeable perhaps when merging onto a fast highway, or if you've got the car loaded up with people and luggage, it might feel like it's working pretty hard.
That's important context if you do a lot of highway miles or carry passengers often. What about that CVT in the front-wheel drive models? Any specific comments on that?
Interestingly, while the overall power level is questioned, some reviewers did mention that the CVT and the front-wheel drive versions can actually feel quite responsive for, like, quick bursts around town. Sudden speed changes.
Okay, so maybe not bad for city driving.
Potentially, yeah. But again, it's more during that sustained acceleration, like getting up to highway speed, where both the engine and the transmission might feel a little less impressive, a bit more strained.
Right, understood. Let's go back inside for a minute. How is it for carrying, well, stuff, cargo space?
The numbers look pretty decent for the class. You're looking at about 29.8 cubic feet of space behind the back seats.
Okay.
Fold those rear seats down, they're a 60-40 split, and that opens up to 63.5 cubic feet. That's quite a bit of room.
Yeah, that sounds pretty usable.
And there's also a hidden storage spot under the cargo floor. Always useful for keeping things out of sight or just organized.
True. Good for valuables or emergency kits. What about passenger comfort? Decent legroom, headroom.
Seems like it. The review suggests there's good space for passengers, both front and back. Adults should be reasonably comfortable even on longer journeys.
And the seats themselves, materials?
You've got different interior options depending on the trim, of course.
Yeah.
The ACT-IV trim gets heated Evotech seats standard. It's like a durable synthetic leather.
Okay.
And you can usually option up to real leather on some trims if that's what you prefer for that more premium feel.
And just the practical stuff, places to put your phone, drinks, odds and ends.
Seems like they've covered the basics well there. Reports mention a multi-level center console, decent cup holders front and rear, and pretty good-sized pockets in the doors. So finding spots for everyday items shouldn't be an issue.
Okay, good. Now let's talk ride quality. When you're actually driving, hitting bumps, potholes, how does the Equinox handle that? Smooth, jittery?
This is another area where some potential drawbacks pop up in the reviews.
Like what?
Some mention noticing a bit of a bounce, maybe some vibrations coming through, especially over bigger bumps or rougher pavement.
Not ideal.
And there were also a few mentions of occasional clunking noises from the suspension, maybe on models with a softer setup, plus noise levels.
Road noise, wind noise.
Yeah, both. At higher speeds, some drivers felt it was a bit noisier inside more road and wind intrusion compared to some of the, let's say, quieter competitors in the segment. So, maybe not the most serene highway cruiser.
Definitely something to test drive for yourself if a quiet, smooth ride is high on your list. Okay, what about fuel efficiency? What are the numbers and are they realistic?
The official EPA estimates are around 27 miles per gallon combined for the front-wheel drive.
27 combined.
And slightly lower for the all-wheel drive at 26 mpg combined.
Which sounds decent. Average for the class, maybe.
It's in the ballpark, yeah.
Yeah.
But there's a bit of a caveat. Some real-world testing mentioned in reviews suggests that actually hitting those EPA numbers consistently might be, well, a little tricky.
The classic real-world versus lab test difference.
Exactly. Your actual mileage could easily be a bit lower depending on how and where you drive. So maybe budget for slightly higher fuel costs than the sticker suggests.
Good tip. Circling back to the interior again, materials quality. You mentioned Evotechs and optional leather, but what about the dashboard doors, the general feel?
This is another point of critique, similar to maybe the ride quality. Reviewers noted quite a bit of hard plastic used in some prominent areas, like the dash and door panels.
Common in this segment, but maybe more noticeable here.
Potentially, yeah. While it's not unusual at this price point, some competitors might use more soft-touch materials, which can make the cabin feel a bit more upscale or refined. So the Equinox might feel a bit plasticky in places compared to the best-in-class.
Okay. And audio system. Anything special or just standard fare?
Pretty much standard fare. Comes with a 6-speaker audio system, likely adequate for most people, news, podcast.
But not for audiophiles.
Probably not, no. And what's interesting is that the previous Equinox actually offered an optional Bose premium sound system.
Oh, right.
That doesn't seem to be available on this new 2025 model, which is a bit of a step back if you really care about sound quality. Might be a disappointment for some buyers.
Interesting omission. Okay, let's pull it all together. The big picture. Price, competition. How does it stack up?
Well, the starting price for the base LT trim is reported to be around $28,600, but that's before you add destination fees and any options, of course.
So realistically, probably starting closer to 30K.
Very likely, yeah. And that puts it smack dab in the middle of a really, really competitive field. You've got huge sellers like the Toyota RV4, the Honda CR-V, the Hyundai Tucson.
The heavy hitters.
Exactly. And the reviews do suggest that when you start comparing things closely like feature availability, maybe overall refinement, and especially fuel efficiency, since competitors offer very popular hybrid versions.
Right, the Equinox doesn't have a hybrid option currently, does it?
Not at launch, no. So if fuel economy is a top priority, or if you want that hybrid smoothness, rivals like the RAV4 hybrid or CR-V hybrid might look like a better value proposition to some shoppers. Or even just comparing space and features for the money, some rivals might edge it out slightly.
Okay, so it's really got its work cut out for it in this market.
It definitely does. It's not a bad vehicle, but the competition is just incredibly strong.
All right, so boiling it all down, if someone listening is considering the 2025 Equinox, what are the key takeaways? The quick summary.
Okay, the highlights are definitely the refreshed, more assertive design, the updated tech inside with those bigger screens and wireless connectivity, and it offers practical space for people and their stuff. Plus, having that standard safety suite is a big plus.
But the potential downsides.
Yeah, you really need to consider the engine performance. Is it strong enough for your needs, especially highway driving? Think about the ride quality. Maybe test drive it on some rough roads if possible. And definitely compare it feature for feature and price for price against those key competitors like the RAV4, CR-V, and Tucson.
Sound advice.
It's all about weighing those pros and cons against what you value most.
Exactly. So for you listening, maybe think about this. What really tops your list when you're looking for an SUV like this? Is it the way it looks turning heads? Is it having the latest gadgets and seamless phone integration? Or is it more about how it feels on the road day to day, the power, the comfort, the quietness? And ultimately, how do the things we've talked about today, the Equinox's reported strengths and its potential weaknesses, line up with your personal priorities? Something to think about. That's our deep dive for today. Thanks for tuning in.